Hi. Okay, I'm doing a complete makeshift video. This was not planned, so I apologize for not being able to see me. You can see my hand. And hopefully this works out and is clear enough to help you understand the lesson. The first lesson we're going to do is on congruence. You've got your I can statement filled in. You should be able to define and determine congruence of shapes by the end. What is congruence? Congruence is equivalence. So we've talked about when things are congruent, they are equal. And our focus for today is we're going to have figures that are congruent. We know that they are congruent. And so we're going to be marking their corresponding sides, which means sides that match up, and corresponding angles, which means angles that match up in each figure, to show their congruence. So our first focus on these first three examples is congruency statements. Congruency statements are written, you separate sides, and then you separate angles. Remember in the past, we've used tick marks to mark sides of our shape. So you're going to notice triangle ABC has 3 different tick marks on the 3 different sides, and triangle DEF also has 3 different tick marks on 3 different sides. The congruency statements for my sides are AB, side AB, put that line over it, is congruent to side DE. And we know that because they each have 1 tick mark. Side AC is congruent to side DF. We know that because they have 3 tick marks each. And then side CB is congruent to side EF. We also can tell when angles are congruent by the different arcs in the angles. We can use 1 arc, 2 arcs, 3 arcs, 4 arcs, however many angles we have. In our first example for triangles, angle A and angle D both have 1 arc, so they are congruent. Angle C and angle F both have 2 arcs. It's kind of hard to see, but they do, so they are congruent. And then angle B and angle E are congruent. There aren't arcs in there. What's in there? Those right angle symbols, so we know those are right angles, they're 90 degrees. These are right triangles that are congruent. Okay, so the second example, what is a congruent statement? We just practiced those. It's a statement of equality, is the official definition. It shows what is equal to what. So again, sides matching sides, angles matching angles. This time I have 2 congruent right trapezoids. We know they're right trapezoids because they have right angles. So looking at the tick marks, I can make my congruency statements for sides as shown here. I'm just going to read a couple. You can pause it and copy the rest. Side MN, which is the top, has 4 tick marks, and that's congruent to side AB on the second right trapezoid. Now what's important is when you write your statements, the letters have to match up. So you picture trapezoid MNOP, kind of if there was the y-axis here reflecting over it and laying on top of ASKB. So M and A match up. So you have to write M before N and A before B. So same order, okay? MP and AS are congruent. Again, start with M, then you start with A over here. And your angle matchups, you can see by the arcs, you have 2 different 90-degree angles this time. So actually all those angles are congruent, which is this final statement down here. Page 2 gives us one more example where we are writing the congruency statements when we've been told the triangles are congruent. So I'm writing the congruency statements and I'm also making the marks in my triangles. You'll probably have to pause it and zoom in to see the different marks. Again, picture this time triangle ABC is reflecting over that y-axis, and then it translates down a little bit to fit perfectly on triangle XYZ. So side AB is actually congruent to side XY, and those have 1 tick mark each. I know it's hard to tell. Side BC is congruent to side YZ, and side AC is congruent to side XZ. And then you have your angle statements as well. And in each angle this time, there are different arcs. We have no 90-degree angles in these triangles because they are not right triangles. What would we classify them as? Obtuse. They would be obtuse triangles because angle B and angle Y are an obtuse angle. Okay, our last example is where we do some algebra. We're told that ABC is congruent to EBD. So we want to solve for x. The first thing we're going to do is put our arcs and tick marks into the triangle so we can match the corresponding sides and the corresponding angles. B is a vertex that they share, so we know that that angle is congruent to itself. And this would be a rotation if you can picture BED rotating 180 degrees on top of ABC. Then we write our congruency statements, or actually we're just making tick marks this time. AB would be congruent to EB, and AC would be congruent to DE. And that's actually very important because we're given measurements on there. That takes us to the solve for x. Because AC is congruent to DE, we can write AC, which is 2x minus 5, equal to 23, and then use our master two-step equation solving knowledge to solve for x, which is the work that you see below. Hopefully this makes sense and will help you with the practice that I have provided for you. I also provided some extra practice sheets for you to look at it a little bit further. If you have any questions, shoot me an email.